At 76 years old, Richard Gere has lived the kind of life that most actors can only dream of experiencing. As the magnetic, undeniable force behind some of Hollywood's most beloved and enduring films, he helped craft cinematic performances that defined an entire generation. But behind that iconic leading man image lies a deeply complex story of constant reinvention, spiritual transformation, and a quiet, unyielding courage that cost him far more than his fans ever truly realized. For decades, the public saw exactly what the studio marketing machines wanted them to see: a sleek, handsome superstar who moved through the world with effortless grace. But time has a unique way of providing perspective, and today, Richard Gere is reflecting on his long journey, his deepest loves, and his complicated legacy with a raw depth and honesty that has long been absent from the public eye. What exactly is the real, unvarnished truth behind the Hollywood icon? To understand his remarkable journey, we have to look completely past the glitz of the fame, the glossy magazine covers, and the red carpets to find exactly where it all began. When people talk about Richard Gere today, the beginning is the part that almost always gets skipped over, yet none of his story makes sense without understanding his roots. He grew up in a modest, hard-working home in North Syracuse, New York, born as the second of 5 children to an insurance agent father and a dedicated homemaker mother. Life in their small community moved slowly, and the expectations placed upon the children were incredibly straightforward: finish school, find a steady job, and build something practical. But from a very young age, something deep inside Richard resisted that predetermined, conventional route. He excelled at gymnastics and music in high school, eventually earning a coveted college scholarship to study philosophy. It was a choice that revealed a lot about his inner wiring, showing that he wanted to deeply understand the mechanics of the world, not just casually navigate it. Then, after 2 years of intense study, he walked away from safety, abandoned his degree, and chose acting. It seemed utterly reckless to everyone watching him at the time, but nobody could have predicted just how far that single leap of faith would take him. Those early years in the industry were completely unglamorous and filled with quiet struggle. He spent over a decade learning his craft in drafty theater rooms for tiny, unpaid audiences, building his professional reputation brick by painful brick. His patience finally paid off when a dark, unsettling supporting role in Looking for Mr. Goodbar caught the public's attention, followed closely by his work in Terrence Malick's visually stunning masterpiece, Days of Heaven. But the exact moment that changed the trajectory of his life forever came in 1980 with American Gigolo. He brought a surprising vulnerability underneath his character's surface cool, transforming what could have been a shallow role into something deeply compelling. 2 years later, An Officer and a Gentleman smashed the global box office, earned millions of dollars, won 2 Academy Awards, and made his status as a permanent Hollywood leading man absolutely unquestionable. Yet, while the cameras of the world were pointed in one direction, his soul was moving in a completely different one. What he discovered next would completely reshape his entire existence, and it started with a sudden, spontaneous journey to Asia. In 1978, while his career was still trying to find its footing, Richard traveled to Nepal and India, where he unexpectedly encountered Tibetan monks in a refugee camp. The experience completely floored him, reaching inside his chest and refusing to let go. He felt an instant, overwhelming connection to the warmth, patience, and deep compassion of a people who had lost absolutely everything to political oppression. This profound experience led him straight to Dharamshala, where he sought out a private audience with the Dalai Lama, sparking a spiritual commitment to Tibetan Buddhism that has lasted without interruption for over 4 decades. But this was not just a passing celebrity trend or a flashy Hollywood lifestyle choice. It was a deeply held conviction that soon put him directly in the line of fire. During the 1993 Academy Awards, while presenting an award in front of hundreds of millions of viewers globally, Richard went completely off script. He used the massive live broadcast to condemn the Chinese government directly, demanding the removal of troops from Tibet. The backlash from the entertainment industry was immediate and unforgiving, but just how high was the price he was about to pay for his conscience? The consequences of that single speech were incredibly swift and severe. He was officially banned from the Academy Awards for 20 years, and China placed a permanent, lifetime ban on him ever entering the country. Major Hollywood studios, desperate to protect their lucrative access to the massive Chinese movie market, quietly began to distance themselves from him entirely. Most actors in his position would have immediately issued a polite, public apology to save their careers, but Richard completely refused to back down. He calmly accepted the sudden loss of big-budget studio projects and shifted his energy into smaller, independent films instead. The commercial machinery tried to bury him, but his raw talent could not be stopped. He delivered masterclass performances in films like Primal Fear, Chicago, and Arbitrage, proving to the world that he didn't need the backing of major studios to shine brightly. His career was completely reshaped by his conscience, rather than by accident. But his professional life wasn't the only thing being totally transformed during this period. An unexpected, mid-life romance was about to turn his personal world completely upside down. For decades, Richard's public image was built around being an untouchable, sophisticated, and highly self-contained leading man. High-profile marriages to supermodel Cindy Crawford and actress Carrie Lowell had come and gone, and he had become a father for the very first time at the late age of 50. But in his late 60s, he met Alejandra Silva, a passionate Spanish activist and publicist 33 years his junior. They married in 2018 in a beautiful, private ceremony and quickly welcomed 2 sons in rapid succession, making Richard a father of young children well into his 70s. To show his complete devotion to his new family, he sold his massive, $24 million New York compound and relocated everyone across the ocean to Madrid, Spain, just so his wife could be close to her family, her friends, and her native culture. It was a beautiful, deeply fulfilling chapter of reinvention, but life has a way of testing even the strongest, most grounded human bonds. While vacationing in Mexico to celebrate Alejandra's milestone birthday, a sudden, terrifying health crisis threw the family into absolute panic. Richard developed a severe, hacking cough that rapidly worsened into pneumonia, forcing an emergency, overnight hospitalization. Thankfully, he made a full and swift recovery, but the intense moment served as a stark, humbling reminder of his own physical vulnerability. After a wonderful, life-changing year spent living in Spain, the family quietly made the decision to return to the United States to balance their international lives and ensure his eldest son, Homer, could be close to them. Today, Richard's net worth sits at an estimated $120 million, built across 5 decades of hard work, but his personal choices have never been driven by wealth accumulation. He chose human rights activism over studio access, genuine love over careful image management, and deep spiritual practice over empty Hollywood glamour. At 76 years old, he is still executive producing powerful documentaries like Wisdom of Happiness and receiving visionary awards for human rights. He didn't build the specific career that maximum commercial calculation would have produced. Instead, he built a life that was genuinely, beautifully lived from the inside out. What do you think of his incredible choices and his refusal to compromise? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're hungry for more inspiring Hollywood stories that time could never quiet down, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell right now, because we have plenty more stories just like this one coming up next.